before we get into today's episode, it is almost the end of the year, it's almost tax season, and Nick and I are so excited to announce a new sponsor of the How to Film Weddings podcast.
That is Core Financial. John has used them for a couple years for doing his books and his taxes and his financial planning. I was talking to him about this time last year and he recommended Core to me, and I have been using them for all of 2019. Guys, girls, people listening, what is probably the most stressful thing that you have to deal with regularly in your business? I'm going to go ahead and say that it's books, taxes, and accounting, all of that. Would you agree, John?
100%. And having the team, Jeremy and the team over at Core, as basically another member of my team, an extension of my team, I've been able to focus on what really matters, and that's running my business and taking care of clients. So we are just so pumped to have an option for you out there. They're nationwide. And so if you're interested, definitely check them out. We're going to have episodes with them on soon, but we just wanted to jump on here before the episode to tell you how excited we are, and stay tuned for more from Core Financial.
And if you would like more information about Core and what they can do for you, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/core, and you can find out all of the information about them doing bookkeeping, about them doing your taxes, about them giving you a financial plan so that you should know if you should spend money in your business or not in the following months. It's a great investment. Yes, it costs some money, but it's going to save you so much money in the long run by hiring a company like this. We are so excited to have Core on board as one of our sponsors.
I'm always Instagramming throughout the day. I think it's fun, and I think other vendors love it. And there's sometimes where the bride just comes up and she's like, am I gonna be in your Instagram video today? Like, let's take a selfie, let's do this. And I'm like, it's working.
Hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and today I'm running solo with a guest, a really good friend of mine, Johnny Apple, owner of Johnny Apple Films based in Dallas, Texas. He is running a luxury brand in Dallas, shooting weddings for $10,000 and above, working with some really high-end wedding planners. And we just talked today a lot about connections that cause your business to grow. The connections that he's made, the relationships that he's had are a really big deal in the fact that he's charging so much. And he's only been in business for like 3 or 4 years, and to already be charging this much, he's done a lot of things right. So I'm really excited to drop this episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. All right, so thank you so much, Johnny Apple from Johnny Apple Films, for joining us. Why don't you do us a favor, say hello, kind of introduce yourself, where are you located, all of that good stuff.
Okay, guys, I am Johnny Apple. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and been shooting for about maybe 3 or 4 years, and love it, love couples, love wedding days, love fun. That's what we're about, so yeah.
So you're in Dallas, Texas. We met at Ray Roman's workshop in 2017. You were there, you were just getting going, but you had like this enthusiasm and excitement to learn and get better. And it was just like immediately, I think we went to lunch that day or something. And it was just like, you were asking all these questions, and we hadn't even started our podcast yet. So I've watched you over the last few years go from just kind of getting going to like seeing you do these really awesome weddings, really big budget weddings, and I'm just like, my goodness, how is this guy doing it? And so there's a lot of questions I want to get to about building kind of towards higher end weddings, your connections, things like that. But before that happens, why don't we do this a lot in the podcast, why don't you kind of let us know when you started? You said a few years back, like what you were charging and why you even got into doing it. Give us that story of how you got going as JA Films or JA something at that time, or just give us that whole story.
Yeah. Oh man. So I started as JA Visions, and everybody was always like Jaw Visions. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was charging about, I think, $2,800 back then. And then I met you at the workshop, and I think Brandon Rice was there as well. And we I think I sat down with Ray for a little bit and asked him a question, and then he basically said, why are you disguising your personality, your brand, over like a company name? And it really opened my eyes. And he was like, your name's Johnny Apple. Like, just call it Johnny Apple Films. And so that's kind of how I got started with kind of landing myself. And I was preparing myself, and like my craft, and Ray always said, like, don't jump into that high-end market unless you are fully ready, your work can stand for itself. And so that really resonated with me. And so I hired a branding company, spent about maybe $7,000 on logos, on a web page, just an overall like brand overhaul. And so I just started kind of reaching out to planners. I already had a connection. To bring you back before that, I was actually working, I think about 6 years ago, I worked in a band called Emerald City, which you know who they are. They're the top, like, high-end. Yeah, I mean, they charge upwards of $15,000 to $30,000 in weddings. I was their sound guy. And so I met a lot of planners through that. And yeah, I mean, I just decided, look at these guys. They're making a lot of money doing video, and it looks like they're having a blast. So ended up just following that. And so to take you back now, we charge about $5,500 for a 4 to 6 minute highlight. Everything else is a la carte. So we have the whole list, a nice little list that our branding company put together. And so, yeah, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, that gives us kind of a general, vicinity of what you're charging and stuff. And you are based in Dallas, Texas, which is a booming market. There are a lot of really big weddings in that market, so that's also been really good. I've just seen over the last couple of years, you mentioned the connection and everything, and that's kind of where I want to piggyback off the episode we did about 3 weeks ago with Larev Films, just talking about your connections and the people. You were working in this band, Emerald City, which I've filmed a lot of weddings where they've come up to Tulsa. Dallas and Tulsa are about a 3.5 hour drive. So a lot of times we kind of overlap a little bit. But Emerald City, I did a wedding where the budget was like $500,000 here in Tulsa, and just like they were amazing. I mean, just blew me away. And so like having that connection there, I want to jump in and kind of talk about connections in the industry and what it has meant for you for in like a 3-year window of time, going from 2,000, 2,500 to 5,500 and up, because I'm sure you charge way more than just 5,500. So before getting into those connections, would you say kind of an average what you charge? What would the average kind of be that you're charging in 2020 so far? 2019, 2020, is it around 5,500, or you're seeing yourself get a lot more? And then how many weddings are you actually shooting?
So I'm shooting about, I would say I'm on track to shoot about 30 this year, which is still way too many for what I want to do. But that's kind of where I'm heading, and I haven't even really hit fall yet, so of 2020. So, but I mean, I think the big thing here is I love the fact that we send a planner our pricing. It's that $5,500, easy in the door, sign the contract, we're good to go. Then I think most of the actual, like the extra money comes in about a month before I do a little consult with the bride and groom and the planner, and I show them what else we have, and I talk about the importance. And I think that on average it's around 7 to 9 is a pretty good place where we land at the end of the day on most weddings. But then another thing we do is we, right when the wedding's over, I'll shoot them an Instagram message, or I'll shoot them a text and say, you guys, your wedding was unbelievable. We loved it. We're so excited. The footage is amazing. And so then I'll throw in like, do you guys want to add anything else? Maybe a ceremony. We have 5 cameras that look perfect on you guys. So that's another, on the back end is a big, big place where we actually bring in, some of that income. So.
Yes, yeah. And I want to jump into that too for sure here in a sec, just about the kinds of things that you're doing when working with the planners, working with them, with the brides, the grooms. What would you say, like the majority of your weddings, kind of for the listeners, are you doing a lot of traveling? Are you doing a lot in Dallas? Are they mostly, like budget wise? Like what kinds of weddings would you say are the ones that you're doing again and again?
All Dallas. I sadly have not traveled. I haven't done any destination. The farthest I've gone is Houston. So it's not annoying that that's the case, because I have 3 boys and a wife, and we're very family oriented here. So it works out really well. But I mean, Most of the weddings we're doing are around 200 to, almost 750,000. I think I've done 1 million. I'm pretty sure I have, but I can't always tell.
A
Sometimes
lot of money is the answer. Yeah, they're spending a lot
yes,
of money.
yes, yeah. So it's not really hurting to throw 10,000,
Yeah,
So.
and I think that the luster of, I travel and I do destinations. I've done a lot of destinations, and to be honest, for me, I would much rather be shooting somewhere where I can sleep in my bed that night. And so, that's just me. If I can make, pretty close to the same in Tulsa as I would have made in California, I would rather take a little less for the Tulsa wedding and not have to travel for 3 days and not have to, or, overseas or those kinds of things. So I think there's a lot in the industry of people who are like, I'm not successful if I don't travel and I think that for the state of life that you're in, that I'm in with 2 small kids for me and 3 for you, it's just like, man, I'd rather film a wedding in Tulsa and then sleep in my bed and see my kids the next day instead of traveling so much. So
Yeah.
So the listeners, that are out there, Johnny is doing if you don't follow him on Instagram, we'll link that here in a little bit, but he's doing a lot of really high-end ballroom type weddings with really high-end planners and just beautiful budget weddings and like they're just gorgeous weddings, and I keep seeing his work and I'm like, man, that's so like to be 3 years into business or 4 years into business and just be already rocking this out. I know that you've had to do a few things to get there. You kind of alluded to it with being in Emerald City, the band. I want to move the conversation to talking more about connections in the industry and what you've done, because some people are a little more naturally connectors and want to connect with people. You and I connected really well when we were in Atlanta together just because we're both those kinds of people. But what types of things did you do when you got going to start getting some of those connections going? Did you immediately reach out to Emerald City, or what practical things did you do, if you can rewind back in your mind, to like get in touch with these people, the planners, the bands, all that kind of stuff? What did you do?
I think I looked back a couple weeks ago at the first email I ever sent to the planner that has gotten me most of the work that I'm doing today. I just sent her a quick email and was like, hey, I met you a couple of times through the band that I've been working with, and I would love to shoot a wedding. She asked me for prices, and I think I said like $2,000. And she was like, oh yeah, let's go. Let's get you on. You've got a good personality. You're outgoing. You look fun. So that's kind of the start. And through that connection, it's Fabulous Fett. Her name's Kristen Butler, amazing planner, very detailed, but still has a great time on the day. So she really kind of catapulted me into the industry. And then after that, it was one of those things that people started seeing my work on Instagram. People started seeing my work just through her posting, through photo posting, through all these different things. And so I would say that my personality and just having a bright, positive attitude throughout the day and just being genuine and authentic throughout the day as well to your couples, I think that's a big deal. And I think one of the things that makes me stand out is a lot of guys are so focused on video during the day. Like that's the one thing they're just like, we got to make sure, and they're stressed and they're always thinking about the next thing. But I'm over here sitting on my phone shooting Insta stories the whole time. And I've got my second shooting, I'm shooting as well, but we're having a good time and there's no stress because we know what we need. So Going back to that, another thing that I do is I joined WIPA, and that's kind of like a luxury professional organization, and kind of volunteered my services, and hopefully, possibly will be on the board at some day in Dallas because it's a new chapter here in Dallas. So I think a huge deal is just finding those organizations. I think WIPA is a great one if you have it in your market. There's NACE, there's all sorts of different ones, but connecting with vendors, even photo. I've gotten so many referrals through photo.
So what stood out to me, what you just said, I want the listeners to hear it, kind of rewinding back to that first email that you said you sent to the planner. You didn't just say, hey, I'm Johnny Apple, I do this, here's what I can offer you, please let me work with you. It wasn't that kind of a thing. You said you told them hi, you introduced yourself, but you had a connection through Emerald City, the band. And so like you made sure to like work that in and kind of be like a real person more so than just a cold email. And so if you're thinking about it from the planner's shoes, if they get emails all the time, especially the higher end wedding planners, it's like that's not the way to get into some of these markets. You also mentioned that you did a wedding for them for like $2,000, which was like a big win for that planner, maybe, like giving them a good rate for the first one. So then they can see how great and easy it was to work with you. So there's a lot of build there too. And then the other thing I was going to say, Nick and I talk about it a lot, is just like when you're reaching out to either a planner or a photographer, the connection side of things is first. You need to show them who that they know, that side of things. But then there's also just straight up flattery and not trying to sell them something, but just reaching out and saying, hey, photographer, or hey, planner, you do such a good job. I just wanted to say hi. My name is Johnny Apple. I'm in town doing videos, but I just wanted to say hi to you and tell you that your work is awesome. I love this wedding you did here. I love this thing you did here. People love being flattered. So that first email you sent, from that point, Johnny, when was like the first wedding you booked with that planner by, after sending that email? What happened next, I guess so?
Oh, well, I think it started is she did book that first wedding. And I mean, I just shined. I was happy. I was excited throughout the day of that first wedding. And after that wedding, I mean, she latched on to the excitement, the joy that I have on those days. And I mean, ever since then, it's been like anytime there's a wedding, she literally just sends me an email and says, are you available? Send contract if so. And it's done. And not only that, but I mean, even through like Kristen at Fabulous Set, like, I mean, after that, then I started attending, just organizational things, meeting different planners. And Lindsay said it really good from LeBrev. He said it really good. He was like, these planners just want relationships. They want people to work with that they have a good time with. They want friends. Because at the end of the day, we're just doing a job. And everybody really just wants someone to hang out with on the day. I mean, so I thought that was really cool that he said that. But
that's huge. And I will say, like, just watching, from afar, your Instagram or just the way that you present Johnny Apple Films, you are very, like you are the brand, and you're not just like a awkward video guy that just kind of like you never see your face, you never see your wife, you never see your shooters, like you're showing off just like this happy and fun, like energetic vibe, that if I see your story and you're taking a selfie with the bride and groom on the day of the wedding, or there's just this putting yourself out there, putting your face out there, connecting, being a normal person and having a good time. Like you said earlier, there's just so many people that are so focused on the shooting that they forget that these are actually real people on their real wedding day. And like, instead of just giving them, a highlight reel of moments that you staged, you can actually capture like the real moments and help them enjoy that. And that is so attractive to the kinds of brides that you're working with, and they love working with you, and then they want to refer you more. And then on the other side, just the relationships with other vendors, you just never know what relationship is going to be cultivated by just being a nice person, taking care of people. So what types of things do you do, or for your wedding planners to go above and beyond, or to the photographers, or what kinds of things are you thinking about on the wedding day to like really make it where you stand out as somebody that has like a great attitude? What kinds of tips and tricks would you have in that realm?
Hugs. First thing I do, go into the room, hug the planner. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. I'm a hugger, but that's the first thing I always do. I give attention to them, let them know that I am so grateful that they have chosen me to be a part of their team on that wedding day. It's not just about the bride and the groom. I mean, it's really the first person I say hi to is the planner. It sometimes comes off rude probably to the bride, especially if we're in bridal preps and she's in there, but that's one of the first things I do. Can I talk about Instagram? Something about...
Yeah,
so
talk about whatever you want.
So something that I find really interesting is that that I love to do is stories. So the day before the wedding, I always tag my vendors, get a picture from the photographer, and say, we are so excited for this wedding day, whatever, on this story. They mention it, mentions are huge, especially, I mean, you guys probably all know this, but I've gotten tons of weddings just because other planners have mentioned me and my work, and then they'll shoot me an email and say, hey, are you available on this day? So, but I'm literally, like for me, it's called FOMO. Like, I like everybody to know that this wedding is everything. And, you know, even if it's a country wedding, whatever, I mean, I still am always Instagramming throughout the day. I think it's fun, and I think other vendors love it. And there's sometimes where the bride just comes up and she's like, am I going to be in your Instagram video today? Like, let's take a selfie. Let's do this. And I'm like, it's working. Like, people are paying attention. And so, we also get a ton of weddings from Instagram, by the way. So
yeah, and Instagram, I mean, so, you know, for those of you out there that, you know, are very fluent in Instagram, you know these kinds of things, but I think we miss it a lot too. The FOMO side of things, I mean, there's a way to post your stories to make it look, you know, it's not smoke and mirrors, but it just makes it look the best it can look for you and for your brand. You know, like you're with the couple having a great time, and people that are kind of watching you from the fringe are like, wow, that guy's kind of cool. He might be great to have at my wedding. But like, I used to always shy away from putting my face on things, and like didn't want my name on things, and didn't want, you know, and then now, since putting myself out there way more on wedding days or just talking or like walking through the story, like people are hiring me because they want me at the wedding, and they're excited that I'm there. And they, like, a lot of times, no joke, they'll like start cheering and clapping when I walk in the room, and you're just like,
hilarious.
Why?
So funny.
It's so funny. And
so weird, but it's so funny.
Do that to you?
I mean, they don't. I've never had a standing applause, but I mean, it's just there's
just
so much excitement.
John's here. Yeah,
like, there's excitement. Like, and it's all. I take Instagram. I take it just as serious as filming, because it's what the public is seeing on the day, and you're creating this illusion. You're creating a whole nother video, and you're going to put it in your highlights as Sarah and John right there in your highlights, the day that you had with them. And so I miss shots sometimes just because I'm like, dude, this is so good. I don't recommend. I shouldn't do that. Yeah, don't do that. But I mean, my second's getting it, so it's perfect. I know that I don't need that angle. I mean, but
it's so much more than filming the wedding. Like, and that's what it comes down to. Everybody that I talk to that is charging the big bucks, it's like, yes, they're doing things correct and they know how to run their cameras, but they're comfortable, and they're comfortable to be around. And even if crap is hitting the fan, they're comfortable still. And it's like, yeah, it's great. It's going to be fine. And like, you are providing this, second video on Instagram, especially, or whatever the new platform is that will be existing, in the years to come. But like, the point of Instagram for me on the wedding day is I want to show off, wow, he does really nice weddings. His couples are really awesome. He has a great personality. Like, I want, and then tagging the vendors that are there. There are so many lazy vendors in our industry that, like, if all you do is tag them, like, I always, I'm getting a great shot of the flowers and of the cake and whatever for my Instagram story. And I'm always like, just tag, like tagging all of the vendors. And then all day long, all of those vendors are sharing, my work and sharing. And so like wedding days, my engagement goes up so much, and I get so many new people following me. And that is where I get a lot of my weddings, is just that Instagram story side of things. So and I watch yours, and I have FOMO, and I'm like, man, he's doing so much better weddings than me, and like, obviously the goal isn't to give people FOMO, but like, you want to present, with your branding. That is such a huge part of your brand. Even if you're just taking videos and photos throughout the day on your phone and not spending the time to post them that day and posting them that night or something, or the day after, that is definitely something that it's funny when talking about like building, higher end, budget weddings, but like that is huge. And, like the whole side of just branding yourself in a way that is attractive, instead of just thinking, okay, like I can't show this because it's not perfect. So.
Yeah, and I post at night. I mean, I never post during the day. I'm always, I kind of cultivate all those videos and think about how it flows, and then take those mentions that I have during the day and put those in there in sequential order throughout the day. So,
do you remember that wedding from a month ago? Yeah, like that one that you needed to start editing yesterday? But you also need to prep today for your wedding tomorrow, and you're leaving for your first vacation in forever on Monday. So what do? It seems that the only creative part of your edits are the excuses you're going to have to give your clients. We have the solution, Wedditor. Wedditor is a team of top wedding editors, project managers, and account coordinators that help us wedding filmmakers edit. They match the right editors with your style so you can spend your time where it matters most, on your business. Nick and I both use Wedditor, and we don't know how we would run our companies without them. It takes a team to build an amazing business, and you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor to help you free up your time so that you can focus on growing your brand. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing.
How do you deliver your wedding films? Dropbox? Disk? A subscription service that is way too expensive? We have the answer for you. Wedflow. Wedflow is a cloud-based digital delivery system that we love. I personally have been using Wedflow for months, and I can't get over how great of a service it is. First off, Wedflow is pay per project. That's right, you only pay for the data that you need. Wedflow uses a premium viewing experience accessible on all modern devices and playback up to 4K. With custom branding and theming, wedding filmmakers can deliver an experience that's truly on brand from start to finish. Head to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedflow and upload your first project for as little as $1 per gigabyte. Wedflow, a whole new take on wedding film delivery.
So, there's so many things that come along with that, but as we've broken it down throughout the year plus now of the podcast, what it keeps coming back to is serving your clients and serving the vendors. Your brand has gone from, 2,000 to upwards of 10,000 of what you're charging. And I think a lot of it, you've built some of these really important connections. But I think a lot of it has to do with the way we're talking about that you are connecting on the day with certain vendors and things like that. What type of opportunities are you looking for on a wedding day to stand out to other vendors? Or when you see somebody you haven't worked with, what kinds of advice would you have to really make an impression on other vendors, bridesmaids, things like that?
This stands out in my head, but makeup and hair, you're with them for a long time. I build relationships with most makeup and hair, and there's two that I work with a lot that are really big in Dallas. And when I see them, we have a blast. Just talking to people and just really just connecting in a happy way. I think that's one of the reasons why, that's what people have told me. I hate to say that's why, but people have said, you are a happy person and we like being and working around you. So working with makeup and hair, hanging out with makeup and hair and talking with them. And I don't know, I just think talking with your vendors, just being friends with them on the day, instead of just going in there with your camera and you're literally shooting and not talking to anybody. It just makes it so uncomfortable. So, and I don't go over the top. There's some guys that come in, they're loud, obnoxious, but there's just this good little medium of just connecting with these vendors. I guess that's possibly answers it, but.
Yeah. So what are there any types of things that you're doing or tips that you would give to like not on a wedding day, like things that you're doing? I know you mentioned
Oh, yeah.
but like are you, this is a separate question. You answered the last one just great. So is there anything that you do? Like I know that I reach out or like message people or do different things. What types of things are you doing to cultivate relationships just on the daily? Like is there any things that you do?
Yeah, well, I do make edits for vendors. That's a big deal. So there's a flower company here in Dallas, and when a wedding is over the top, I'll make a 15-second, 30-second little teaser of all their work, the establishing of the reception, even for the makeup. Like one time, a makeup, I made a video for one of the makeup artists. I'm literally one of her favorite people in the world now. She's referred me 2 or 3 weddings. And so, like, who would have ever thought a makeup artist would do that? But you know what? Like, she's out there doing things, and she does these test runs with girls with makeup. We're the last people to be hired usually. So she goes through with these, I guess in these high-end weddings, they do test runs of makeup. They go to their studio, put makeup on, see if the bride likes it. She's planted the bug, like, in a bride's ear twice so far. And, I mean, so grateful. And I guess that's something that we do that... just off the top of my head.
Like when it comes down to it, like you are in your third year of business. I'm sure that things are a little bit easier now when it comes to the connections you have, all these people and all these happy clients. Tell me a little bit about like back in the day versus now, when you got going, how much easier is it now to like get these weddings than it was at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I got very lucky and blessed in the beginning to get some of these first weddings from some of these planners. But then I literally took those opportunities and really went all out with my personality, went all out with not being that video nerd who all he cares about is video. And it's more of a people relational thing throughout the day, making friends with the vendors. And so I genuinely believe that through all those opportunities I had in the beginning, I was able to make it to where it's now a planner. I've got probably 5 to 7 planners who are sending me emails just saying, "Are you available? Are you available?" And I just shoot a contract. So, I mean, yeah, there is definitely an opportunity there in the beginning, but I think it's just really, I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that like a lot of times, for me, when I got going, it was probably my 5th or 6th year before I was able to do any wedding that was really like amazing, and if I were starting again, I would just tell the listeners to like be looking for little pockets in each wedding that you can move your business forward just a little bit. Whether that's making just a really good relationship with, the bartender, or a really good relationship with a photographer, but like the little things that you do to go above and beyond are what add up over time and make it to where you're able to do these higher end things. And then you mix it in with kind of what Johnny was talking about at the beginning. He had JA Visuals as his company, and people were like Jav, and like I remember telling him whenever we were together, is like, your name is Johnny Apple. Like,
was that you? It might have been you that did that.
I did do that, but it might have been Ray too. I don't know. But like, I was just like, this is crazy. Like, it's like you should put yourself on that. And like, if you go to his website, his logo is clean. His website is clean. He spent $7,000 on rebranding. And I can't tell you how important that is. I'm about to be doing the same thing with Redeemed Productions and like rebranding. And like every few years, you need to be really thinking about the way that your brand, that is a huge portion of what it is when it comes to being able to charge more for these weddings. And so I want to move into the question of the day presented by Wedditor. More than freelance, more than outsourcing, we love Wedditor. Today, the question comes from Chris Once. He says, what things in films are you seeing that set high-end work apart from everything else? So basically, what stands out to you as like, oh, that's a high-end that's a high-end videographer, not a high-end videographer? Anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you could make a country wedding look high-end. I feel like natural light is one of the most important things. And, I mean, we all talk about it. Everybody does it. But, I mean, I've seen some high-end guys that there's still the lights on in the room. And I don't know if it's because they're scared to ask makeup and hair, which goes back to the point of building a relationship with those makeup and hair, so that when you ask to turn that light off, or you're turning it on and off just for certain shots, it's all good. You're a good hang with those people, so they want to help you out in your video. So I think that's one thing is natural light in Bride Prep's dress and or her putting her dress on, and then just details as well, like really properly know how to use a wide angle lens with a gimbal, swipe the rooms to make it look elegant and be very smooth. So I think also stability. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I always hold on to. So yeah.
And I think too, like you said, like if you're thinking about it, and I say this to my second shooters about making a film look as high end as possible. And like you said, you can make a country wedding, and I do a lot of. Oklahoma, there's a lot of really wealthy cowboys here, and so like the same thing in Texas and whatever. But like I think the point is that like you as the filmmaker can frame things in a way that make it look as elegant or as beautiful as possible or as expensive as possible. And so what I tell my second shooters is like, I want to show off where they spent the money. That's what I want to do. And I want to figure out a way to do that in my style. but like big gimbal shots of a ballroom, and I spend a lot of time, a lot of people don't, but I spend a lot of time in our films making sure that the room has been cleared out, that the planner gives me 5 minutes to myself in the room to like really get some of those 16 to 35 just wide gimbal on the C100 on the Ronin, just kind of everything's lit. I've got lights where I want them. I get it perfect. And that is part of my style, is showing off just those really high end, and some people spend a ton of money on their head table and nothing over here on their other tables. And so like I'm only framing it in a way that shows off this and showing off. And that's the kind of brand that I'm wanting to, portray. And so you might not want to be showing off, a luxury, vibe, or you might want to do like more of an adventurous or whatever, outdoorsy, but that's the kind of like, you need to be thinking about that kind of thing when you're going into your films. Like, okay, I'm going to, those shoes, I know that those red bottom shoes are expensive, it's like the Christian Louis Vuitton or whatever it's called. And it's like, but I know that like I'm thinking and looking, it's like, oh my goodness, okay, her ring, that, like I'm just looking at things and saying, where did they spend that money? Where, what is just an over the top thing that they're doing? Where did they, down to little napkins that have personalized like little quotes from the bride and groom on them for the, like for their drinks, to this expensive champagne or whatever. But I'm always filtering it through, how can I make this look as expensive as possible? And if you do that with the weddings, even if you didn't do an expensive wedding, like I did a wedding earlier this year where like, I don't know if you do these, but like they spent their whole budget on me, and they didn't spend much on the actual wedding. And so like I spent a lot of my time outdoors with them, like with the backlit, like showing their bouquet up close, things like that. Do you ever do any weddings?
That just happened. Literally, probably, it wasn't too long ago where that happened. And I think it was a $12,000 spent on me. And literally there was nothing to shoot. And I mean, it was just one of those instances where I might not post it. It might not go on I have no problem like not posting something if it doesn't represent my brand, because, and I really am trying to figure out how not to hurt the couple's feelings all the time, but it's just not part of my brand. I mean, if it does not represent the look that I want and the elegance and the luxury that I want to show, then it's probably not going to go up. But so.
And I think a lot of us, for the most part, kind of, you want to be, obviously, I always want to be careful because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But when it comes down to it, I want to have a luxurious, high-end vibe for my films that I'm showing for me on my website. And so there's been 2 weddings this year that I did that were great. The couple was really sweet. I wasn't at, I don't think, either of them. They were like associate shooters, but like it just didn't feel like me. So I still uploaded to YouTube like I usually do and sent it to them and let them share it. But I just kept it unlisted off of my YouTube channel. And they shared it. They each have 1,000 or so views because the couple shared it. But like, and that comes down to like the branding side of things. It's funny in this conversation just about, connecting and getting your business to grow. Like we haven't talked much at all about the actual camera settings or anything like that, because it really does have so much to do just with the way that you are presenting yourself and your brand. And so if your wedding doesn't, like if you're wanting to do more high-end things, aim towards making it look that way in your films. And if you're thinking about that before you shoot, like, okay, how can I frame this in a way to like really make this look as expensive and beautiful as possible, that is going to affect the edit completely. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about your relationships with your couples. You said a month out is whenever you start to really get to know them. So typically for you, for the most part, a planner is contacting you. You're booking them. Why don't you walk through the process of that? Just how far out is that usually? You said that you have them book just their base package and then they add things. So kind of walk me through your process with your relationship with the couple.
Yeah, well, it usually starts with the parents. The relationship is, I'm really good with the moms. That's one thing that I've gotten good with, is because that's where I start.
He's good with moms. He said it.
I'm good at talking with moms.
I am too. I love moms.
I mean, I love it. It's so fun. So a lot of times that's the first communication is, the planner and I will jump on a call with mom and talk about what's going on. Sometimes it's the bride, or sometimes it's the bride. The groom's never a part of it. So then I go up on Instagram. I'll add them on Instagram and Facebook in hopes that they think that they want to add me so they can see what we're about, developing those small little relationships right there on Instagram. And then about a month out, maybe 2 months, it just depends on how busy or what my backlog is, I will schedule a call with them. We'll go over everything. I have a whole list, and then we end up going over a la cartes at the end. And so, but it's never... I mean, the calls go for about 30 minutes, so I know some people go to coffee, some people go get drinks. I honestly don't think that these brides that I work with give two craps about me and want to go get drinks or do coffee with me. So, yeah.
Yep, I've learned
what do you think
of the charge.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think they want to do that until after they've booked, and then like it's the same thing. It's like they want to connect a little, like. I just booked a wedding where they're probably spending $500,000. I did not talk to the bride till after they booked me, but then I sent a text to the bride and just said, "Hey, so excited to be working with you. Just followed you on Instagram, like that kind of thing." And I sent her a gift on Greetable, the site we use to like send a little thank you gift for booking. And she sent a text back, and I was like, "Just so you know, this is my cell number if you need anything." And like she got the gift and was like, "Oh my goodness, thanks so much. That was so sweet." She posted it on Instagram and tagged me, like so excited to work. And so we build this relationship over time. Yeah. And so their wedding is in March. They booked a little late being last month, but we've started to build that relationship. So as we get closer, we can, do some more like selling, things like that if need be.
Yeah, and if they follow me on Instagram, then they know who I am because I am out there. Like I let them know. I let people know. So that's another big thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, so you book a bride, through mom, planner, bride, that kind of thing. You're not doing a ton of meeting like in person, that kind of stuff. It's more over the phone or Skype or Google Hangout, I'm sure. And then from there, you said about a month before the wedding, you walk through all of the extra details. Is this over the phone?
Mostly phone, yeah.
Okay. And do you send them a sheet to be looking at while they're talking to you, or you just kind of walk through and listen, or what's the process?
Yeah, before the call, before our call that we make with them, I'll send them a quick text with our pricing, or an email if I don't have their number. But obviously I do have the number because I'm calling them. So mostly yes. I will text them, and then it's basically just one price sheet that has the price, and then, or it's two different sheets, but it's a price sheet that has the main price with what it comes included. And then the next page is the a la cartes and the descriptions of everything. So, yep. And I hired a branding company to explain what, I got them to create some copy for me explaining in this very clever way of what each thing is.
Make it feel more elegant, make it feel not like, here's the raw footage on a Seagate hard drive. Yes. It's not that. It's like relive the moment of your every moment of the day, and so it's like just, and that is something that I think so many of us are like, we try to do our own taxes or we try to fix our own car. And it's like, we're telling people to hire professionals, and it's like, hire somebody that is good and, like reach out to somebody that you like their website and say, who helped you with this? Who wrote this? How did,
I totally agree.
And that kind of thing. And some of us are better than others. Like I have a knack for writing and things like that and copy. Like I love that kind of thing. And so, I will always run it by other people and say, what do you think of this? And they're like, wow, can I steal that for my website or whatever? But like, so anyway, enough about me. Sorry. So we have talked to them. They're adding things. You then send just kind of an invoice after that. Is that kind of how that works? Or you send that over to the planner? Or do you tell them, don't worry about it, I'm going to send everything over to the planner? How does that work?
Everything mostly gets sent over to the planner for the most part. But, I mean, we use Honeybooks and ding. Is that like an ad?
/howtofilmweddings.com/
that's so funny. So funny. We use Honeybooks, and I love it. I mean, a lot of people are like, we do paper contract. It's all serious, but I mean, people want to pay with credit cards, so it makes it easier for them. So, where was I going? Oh yeah, we just tag it onto the proposal, all the a la cartes, and then the final bills due. They just do credit card with that. So.
We know the time suck that is searching for the perfect song for your wedding film. MusicBed has spent years collaborating with artists, bands, and composers to make it easier than ever for anyone to find the right song for their video.
With amazing artists like Chapters, Tony Anderson, and The Light, The Heat, MusicBed is the best place for wedding videographers to get licensed music.
Their subscription service was a life changer for me, especially since all of their subscription music is pre-cleared for every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Love Stories TV, and my personal favorite, YouTube, all pre-cleared.
And if you are interested in a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. When you sign up, use the promo code HTFW and you will get your first month for free.
Talking about now with the couple, like leading up to the wedding, do you talk to them again? Do you talk to the groom at all before the wedding day? What is your process for like your interaction with the couple, like between the month before the wedding to the wedding day?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I mean, we really don't talk after that 1 month meeting. I mean, the only real interaction I have is through Instagram, them liking, doing different things on there. But I mean, other than that, I mean, I see them on the day, hugs, always hugs. And then the groom, it's just like, what's up, bro? What's going on? And it's never really anything deep. The bride's a little bit more deep, but still mostly surface. So,
And you would say, I mean, you know, and so some people, they're like, oh my goodness, I could never, you know, like not know the couples, and so, or whatever. And so it's just based on what you want. If you wanted at that point to insert a little bit more like, hey, I want to at least like say hi to the couple together, like that's a great time to do that. But again, some of these higher, you know, they've hired a wedding planner to do the job of finding all the vendors. They don't want to be best friends with their videographer or photographer. They want to enjoy being around you, but like they don't need to be your best friend, you know, in this kind of scenario. They just want somebody that's going to show up, add value, and help them have a good day that they think is, you know, like on camera looks amazing. And so, so, I mean, that's totally fine and totally, like, I think that so many people get wrapped up in, like, you have to do it this way. You know, I know a lot of high-end, you know, wedding videographer, filmmakers that, like, have to meet the couple beforehand and have to get in stories, you know, their story is so important. And so, like, for your model, you know, yes, that's important, but you're kind of working with what is given to you on the wedding day and trying to tell that in a way that is, from what I see, a more timeless, classic, just really well put together rendition that feels really expensive. I mean, that's kind of how I look at your films. Would you agree that's kind of what you're doing? Or
I mean, I forgot to mention we actually do a questionnaire. That's huge. So I forgot about that. And sometimes they go out, sometimes they don't. I mean, sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. But when we do have that questionnaire, it really does help out. And it's really good, like questions that ask about their story and different things. So yes, that is one of the ways that I do connect a little bit with them. That's a big deal sometimes. I forgot to mention that. But
and that's huge. And I definitely, if you don't have a questionnaire, definitely put one together or grab one off of our website. So let's, as we're getting a little bit closer to wrapping this thing up here, I want to talk just about advice that you would have. You know, like maybe some tips, or like, it's okay if it rehashes a little bit of what we talked about, but like, if somebody is wanting to get into higher paying jobs, do you have any tangible tips that maybe we haven't talked about for getting into that for people, whether they've been shooting weddings for a while or not? So like, what tangible advice would you give to somebody that wants to charge more in 2020 than they did in 2019?
I think you need to stop focusing so much on being this video guy and be a good hang. I mean, that's one of the things that I learned, is that people really like to work with me because when I'm there, I'm not running around getting a tripod. Don't ever run. Like, don't ever be in a panic.
That's
like,
good advice.
That is literally the planner's worst nightmare, because if a guest sees that, that just looks so awkward and it makes your brand just, it falls. So, don't run. One time I had a second shooter a long time ago who ran, and I was just like, oh my God, what are you doing? So, I mean, I think it's kind of some of the there's one planner I work with where I notice straight off the bat that, like, she is just so cool as a cucumber. Like, she's so chill. She just hangs there. She's running a $500,000 wedding, but it looks like she's just like a guest. So I guess my advice is just be a good hang, be relaxed, be chill, do your homework before, have your camera settings all done. And when you're out there in front of everybody, you know, like that's your show. Like you're an actor. I mean, you have to be, your brand is out there. So I'm thinking about that in the back of my head all the time. So I guess that's something.
That's really good.
Yeah, I think that works.
Even saying like you're an actor, I mean, I think that's kind of, I look at myself on a wedding day as like, I am not John Bunn, the person that I am on a normal day. I am John Bunn, the brand of Redeemed Productions, and I am on the stage, and there are people watching at the same time, and there's just so much nonverbal things, you know, so many nonverbal things that are happening that you can do on a wedding day to really set yourself apart. So that's really good stuff, man. This was a good hang for this last hour for me too.
I had a good hang time with you. Yeah. Oh yeah.
If anyone out there wants to see some of your work or wants to follow you on the IG or TikTok or wherever you're at, where can people find you?
They can go to @JohnnyAppleFilms on Instagram, my website JohnnyAppleFilms, Facebook. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Instagram. That's it. Own it. Do it.
Own it.
Don't be
Awesome.
scared. Yeah.
Don't be scared. Well, check out his work, and thank you so much, Johnny, for being on the How to Film Weddings podcast.
Thank you.
Wow, such an awesome episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. Again, I just want to thank Johnny Apple for being on and talking through some of these things, you know, talking about connections that cause your business to grow. If you are listening to this or watching, do us a favor, share this video, like it, subscribe, join our Facebook group. The community there is amazing. And be sure to check out howtofilmweddings.com. There are so many great templates, digital templates for your business, from email templates to questionnaires like we talked about in the episode. So many things to help you in your business. Again, thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and until next time, we'll see you.